So let's take a look at lesson 11 with Unit 2 in 6th grade math. We're looking at moving to our next tool or representation for these ratios, which is a table. So kind of getting more and more abstract from starting with that very concrete to the discrete diagrams to the double number lines, and now we are on ratio in tables. So kind of our most abstract, and you're going to help the students kind of build that idea during this lesson. So in the warm-up, we are looking at this figure that's growing, having them describe how they see it, and figuring out essentially equivalent ratios as we go through different sizes of the figures. In this activity, you're going to give students a chance to work on their own first to solve it, and this the questions that are asked start with something that's reasonably answered by a double number line, but end with something that goes way beyond what is appropriate to answer on a double number line and kind of presents the need for the ratio table. So after they do question 1 and they are answering question 2 about if someone mixes 36 liters and 45, how many batches would they make? It may be worth pausing the class to kind of help students understand that if we know things like to get from 5 to 45, that's times 9, then it's the same idea up here because it's an equivalent ratio. And we've said before when we defined equivalent ratios that we multiply both parts by the same amount, that we get an equivalent ratio. So just bringing that back to mind before they answer questions 3 and 4 about 400 liters of orange juice or 455 liters of soda water, which obviously to continue this number line that far would be kind of ridiculous. So also after they have answered question 5, as you are doing the activity debrief, you are going to want to definitely pull from the synthesis here because you are going to build the idea of a table with them. And so pulling up the vocabulary of row and column is important, and naming this as a table and seeing that we still have to label in tables. That's just as important as it has been. And that the row is a pair of equivalent ratios that go together, and that in a double number line, things go in order and have equal spacing. In a table, they don't have to. So you can even see that the order goes backwards here, and that's okay. But we can use that external ratio of multiplying by 100 there on both sides to work through that. Then as we move on to the batches of trail mix, activity 3, students are working through this. It's more simple calculations. And so students are just filling out the ratio table, talking about how they did it, and trying to just wrap their minds around this table as a new representation. As you go through the curriculum, feel free to also do horizontal tables so students get used to that as well. In the summary, we're going to kind of pull all of that together and help kids come to an understanding. And then in the cool down, students go back to batches of cookies. So they go back to a context they understand, but they're looking at it with this table instead and helping them understand and interpret that table a little bit more. Also, we skipped lesson 10 in the pacing guide, but I wanted to point out that that would be a great lesson to use in your intervention time over a couple of days with those students, because it probably would be very applicable to what they are doing. It's some extra practice and help make sure they have a deeper understanding, or just the extra repetition could be helpful for them as well. So any lessons that we merge or skip, feel free to use those in your intervention time. I think that's a good use of those lessons.